Hi, I'm Panda Hershey, and I coach entrepreneurs on how to use astrology as a decision making tool so they can recognize their path forward and build lives and businesses that actually fit them. Welcome to the May 21st Coffee and Cosmos call, where we talk about how you're recognizing the extent to which you've changed over the last year. And over the next couple weeks, you're likely to be coming up with ideas on how to take this transformation even further. But don't be surprised if you have more ideas than you can follow up on. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the other side. Okay, here we are on May 21st. And where are we? What is happening right now? Well, today Mars is at 15 and a half degrees of Leo. And since April 27th, it has been moving through the area of the sky where Mercury will be traveling for 2 months from July through August. And Mars is about commitment. Mars is about putting your heart into something. And notice it's out here all by itself, right? All these other planets are kind of catching up to it, but Mars has been kicking down the doors internally, maybe, to say, I know I can do this. I know I can do this. And it is asking you to show what you can do, even if you don't know how to do it. And you'll, as these other planets catch up, you'll figure it out, but only because you've taken that bold action to do it. The other thing that is happening is that Uranus, over here, this orange little hash mark, has finished up its journey through last year's portal, where it helped you restructure who you are and how you show up. And if you look back a year ago, you show up differently than you do now. And it has started, or will start, the uh, 2025 journey, and that um, will take another year, and you will continue to show up differently. And you'll get to show up so differently that you will think differently. And that's kind of where we are right now, is at this cusp of saying, okay, I'm done with that. And I know I've got more to do. And um, and it's a little, I don't want to say intimidating, but a little like, I'm not sure how to do it. And you don't right now. But it starts with making the effort to try it and then working it out as you go along. And so if it feels a little uncomfortable, that might be why. Excellent. Louise, I see it. You're doing great. That's awesome. Okay, so that's where we're at. And today, Mars leaves the Mercury portal. Now, tomorrow, the sun has been marching through for the last 5 days this year's Uranus portal. So if you've been trying to make these moves that feel like, oh man, give me a year and I'll know how to do this, that's why it feels uncomfortable. But you're just testing it. You're just saying, here's what the direction I'm heading in. This is what I'm going for because I'm not done changing who I am. And when the sun leaves that portal tomorrow, Mercury enters last year's portal. So if you think back to May 13th and everything that you've been doing until now, so about the last uh, 10 days or so, then you can probably see that your actions have sort of put a stamp on who you've become and what you're trying to do. And now with Mercury, like now moving through that same area of the sky, this is the time to reflect on it. Maybe other people have noticed and want to talk to you about, oh my gosh, maybe I hadn't realized how much you've changed. And I see where you're headed now. And this is leading to, I think, some good conversations. Action creates clarity. 100% that's true. So Mercury moves through this area of the sky much faster. It took 5 days for the sun to move through last year's portal. It takes basically 3 days for Mercury to move through it because it's moving so much faster. And so from the 22nd to the 24th, you'll be talking about, okay, this is what I used to be, and this is, you could see that I'm different. And it will enter this year's portal to show, and let's talk about what's happening for me or what's happening for you and how we're both changing this year. And it moves over Uranus on the 24th. So there may be this um, uh, like definitive, yes, we're both either on the same path, but we're definitely both changing. That same day, Saturn moves into Aries. Now, Saturn has been in Pisces for the last 3 years, helping you to discern who you're in the same boat with and who gets it, who understands how you're feeling. And if people have fallen away from your life over the last few years, and especially like up till now, this is why, is because Saturn has been trimming them. And it's not that anything has been, um, it can simply be that people grow apart or that you're both headed in different directions and you just don't have as much time to be together as you normally might. And it doesn't mean you won't come back to it. And so now Saturn moves into Aries. And this is discernment about what's important to you. And so now that you have the right people around you, it is figuring out what what um, what do I care about? And it's going to be another like 3.5 year journey to say, this is what I really care about. But this Saturn moving into Aries right now and for the next few months is setting the direction. So it's a really good time to be honest with yourself and be able to say, okay, this is what I'm going to focus on. And here's the path I'm going to start walking down to figure that out. Can you absolutely regrow that connection? Absolutely. On the 25th, Venus moves into last year's Chiron portal. And Chiron, I always talk about as this energy of snafus, of you have an expectation of how things are going to go, and it never turns out the way you expect. And this has been about bringing something important to people's attention over the last year. And maybe they just didn't believe you, maybe they just didn't get it. But as Venus moves through last year's portal for about 3 or 4 days, this will be validation. Either people have come around and say, oh my God, I don't know why I didn't listen to you before, or I don't know why I didn't get it. But look for this validation of, I understand what you've been trying to tell me. And also for you to say the same to someone else, maybe. And maybe now you get it. And on the 26th, so from the 24th to the 26th, Mercury has zipped through this year's Uranus portal, giving you something to think about, process, and start to think differently. On the 29th, Mercury catches up to the sun and crosses over it at 8 degrees of Gemini. And what happens at that point? Some of you have been with me for a number of months, and you know this is where Mercury and our heads get ahead of ourselves. We start to have more ideas than we can actually follow up on. But this particular day might be very busy. So mark it on your calendar. Great day for brainstorming, if you have someone that you love to process with, this might be a great day to talk to them and just create that space because it could come up spontaneously. So just keep that in mind. And that same day, Venus enters this year's Chiron portal. So it hasn't finished up last year's, but it's giving a hint of, oh, this is the thing I need to pay attention to this year. So this conversation might even relate to this topic of how you're going to narrow it down on what it is you have to pay attention to this year. Then Venus leaves the next day, last year's Chiron portal, and Mercury enters last year's Jupiter portal. So, Jupiter last year, starting in mid July, think about how you've grown your awareness about something since then. You know more about something, you've got more details, you can think bigger about a certain area of your life and the little nuts and bolts of that part of your life. And now you get to show it. As Mercury moves through that area of the sky, it'll 11 degrees Gemini to 21 degrees of Gemini. So we'll see it in a bit how long that is, but it will let you demonstrate how much you can speak to all the things that you've learned. And this is almost like a little testing ground of uh, like if anyone's questioning how much you've grown, this is the opportunity for you to say, you know what, I've learned all this and now I can even see where it's going. I can see how to take that information and apply it. And the cool thing is that 2 days later, the sun starts moving through that area of the sky. And is it is going to lag, but it does mean you'll be able to follow up on stuff right away. So those ideas that you generate with that person on the 29th, well, then you can start like coming up with things you can do, ways to apply all that you've been learning and start doing it. On the 1st, Venus moves over Chiron, and look on that day to what becomes something that's brought to your attention, something maybe that you've been anticipating possibly, but this may be indicative of what it is you need to be thinking about or giving your energy to or really incorporating over the next year. And then on the 3rd, Venus leaves that portal. And on the 4th, Mercury finishes its journey through that Jupiter portal from last year. So it really is a quick journey, like basically 5 days, where it moves through those 10 degrees of Gemini and has you talking about how to take all that awareness that you've grown since last July and what to do with it. And the sun is still marching through, so it's going to keep going. And then on the 5th, the day we meet again, Mercury actually moves over Jupiter. And it's that at the very last moment of Gemini. And it's like you will be able to see all of these all ideas, how it all fits together, like all the possibilities. So if you're still struggling with that right now, you get to look forward to this point and say, okay, by then it will all start to make sense. I'll have wrapped my head around all the little details. And then after that, Mercury will move into Cancer and it will be thinking, using your intuition and your gut. Okay, let's go back. Now that I know how to do this faster. There we go. Oh, one more. And a fun thing to watch is how Mercury closes the gap on the sun. So that green will catch up to the yellow and then it will pass it. So if you're feeling your ideas like start to build, this is part of why. Okay. So over the last week, you got to prove how much you've changed over the last year. And now you're in the space of taking a risk and showing that you're ready for more. And the buzz that it may generate, and that buzz doesn't have to be for a whole crowd, it can just be you and someone else, um, will lead to a discussion, and it will open doors and create space for more transformation this coming year, especially in how you think. And that part hasn't started to, is showing up in hints, but that work doesn't begin until a little bit later. And with the right people around you, i.e., the people that you spent all spring looking for, um, fresh ideas will flow that can be implemented right away. And that's that point at which Mercury and the Sun are coming together with all these ideas and details, and you'll start putting them to work. And all that work that you did to expand your awareness since mid July of last year is going to pay off. Okay. All right. Now, let's do a recap. So, today is the day that Mars finishes moving through this upcoming Mercury portal, where from July to August, you will get to figure out how it is you can have fun and how you can shine in this new paradigm, what you bring to the table. From the 17th, so 4 days ago, until tomorrow, the sun has been moving through this year's Uranus portal. The way you are going to change the way you show up and how you start to change how you think. It's going to be a permanent change in the way you think. But your actions are demonstrating this. And hopefully, over the next, yesterday, frankly, and today and tomorrow, there's this little hint of how you're able to think differently. When that wraps up, Mercury does the same little journey of like, let's talk about what just happened and processing first what you did from the 13th to the 17th, demonstrating how you have changed over the last year before then moving into this year's portal to say, well, let's talk about what more is coming and how I'm still not staying the same. Then on the 24th, when Saturn moves into Aries, basically until mid July, so, about 2 months, what areas of focus are calling for your attention? So it may or may not be an overnight thing, but this is something that you get to notice. What is calling on you and poking you and won't let you ignore it. And it is about setting the direction for really the next few years of what it is you're going to give your energy to, what you're going to pay attention to. And for those of you, I think we're all old enough, if you can think back to 1996 to like early 1999, this would be the same energy that something was coming to your attention. Like, oh, I've got to do this. I've got to think about like this is really important. And then after this is done, I'm going to do something about it. But this was a time where we're feeling that same energy right now. We're just starting that journey of, maybe I need to focus on this. Then from the 25th to the 30th, Venus moves through last year's Chiron portal. So look for validation. of something that you've been trying to bring to someone else's attention and maybe acceptance. Cool, Sherry. I love that. Yeah, I will say that's the point at which I realized at the very end of that period where I had to go to business school. So, yeah, I crammed that in there at the very last second. And then acceptance of something that has been brought to your attention over the last year, and it becomes something that you simply have to take in and accept. Then on the 29th, right in the midst of all of that, Mercury crosses over the sun at 9 degrees Gemini. This is where your mind starts to get ahead of all that you're able to do. You'll have more ideas than you can actually follow up on. And so allow space that day for some really good ones to like get going. And just know that even after that conversation, your head's going to just keep churning out more ideas. And so just give yourself some grace about not being able to follow up on every single one for a little while. Then from the 29th to the 3rd, Venus moves through this year's Chiron portal. So just notice what's coming to your attention that you might need to work on or think about for the whole year. And it will be exact on the 26th, on the 1st at 26 degrees. And then from the 30th to June 4th, Mercury will move through last year's Jupiter portal. So if you think through like everything over the next 2 weeks, you've been doing something that shows how you've changed and how you're going to change. And then you're going to have conversations about it. And then the whole progression is, oh, well, let's think about everything I've learned and where can that take me? And that's where all of the work you did over the last year starts helping you to move forward into um, the work that you'll be doing in the upcoming year. So notice during this time what ideas you have for using that new awareness that you've built to meet the challenges of this new paradigm that you're in. And you'll slowly start to follow up on them. It'll feel like you're on top of it at first, but you'll realize you won't be able to keep up and let some of those ideas go. Go into it realizing you can't follow up on every single one. And so you don't beat yourself up. And I believe that's where, one more. June 5th, Mercury crosses over Jupiter at 29.9 degrees Gemini, like literally just at the end. So it's your opportunity to see so many possibilities that day, some really deep insight. And after this moment, when Mercury moves into Cancer, your intuition will be guiding your thoughts for a little while. Okay. So tips to thrive, bold action now, because for so much, all of this, frankly, Mars is still in Leo. Insisting internally or externally that, or maybe challenging you from the outside of you can do this. You have a lot to offer. Come on, get out there. And you are go ahead and generate buzz with your actions so that you can have conversations that help you see what's possible and help you get to that point where you've got someone saying, wow, you did that. You're on this path to do whatever, to change how you show up and change how you think. What are the ways you can do that? And how can you create space for that? Imagine growing so deeply that even the way you think about yourself changes. And how do you allow for that to happen? Okay. And again, if you are feeling uncertain about your path and need a clear, personalized roadmap for the months ahead, just DM me here. I'm changing actually the structure of Compass that hopefully makes it more accessible to people. So if you're interested, let me know. And we can chat. All right. I can show any slides that you guys want. Of course, I am. Thank you, Louise. I love that. If you have questions or coaching, I'm here for it. So Anyone. Bueller. Just unmute yourself. Okay. Thanks, Sherry. Anyone have any questions about how this might be showing up for them? Or can you shed light on the spring, what you let go of to build up this new energy? There was some releasing of maybe people that weren't following, like didn't get it, didn't understand what the new paradigm is, and they had to go. Didn't understand how your life is changing, how you've got new rules, new ways of you're stepping into a new world, and those people who were just not going to be part of it because they didn't get it or because their paths are just diverging, um, were being let go of. Does that land for you, Kim? Does that make sense? Feel free to unmute yourself or just give me a thumbs up.
I have something, Panda.
Yeah.
It's more, I think, to me, as you know, I kind of work in the sort of intuitive realms. So in my dreams, and I think it's just confirmation on everything that you're actually saying, but the last 2 nights I've had two very powerful dreams. So yesterday morning when I woke up and did the interpretation, what came out of it was what I was being told was stop worrying about everyone else, break break free, say what you need to say, and do what you need to do. And then today, the message was two messages really, one for me personally, and then one for me in relation to working with my clients. For me, it was like, don't settle for less when you know you're meant for more. And for your clients, just know that they're holding back a little bit. Prospective clients now, this is in my webinar training, but they're holding back. They're not 100% in, and it's really speaking to the things that they're afraid of. You know, that it isn't a right fit for them, and they're a little bit afraid, and just to keep nurturing that, you know, and supporting them through that, because that's where they're at. So I think it feels like it's very much aligned with what the planets are saying. I don't know if you had anything else to add to that.
I think you've nailed it. And you can use that in your webinars if are you still doing them?
Yeah, so I have one today at 3, and it was like, this is where I need, because I was asking for guidance before I
Mm-hmm.
went to sleep last night. That was the specific question. You know, can you show me how to, communicate better in this webinar tomorrow? And that was what came through. So I'm going to go through it and seed more of speaking to the fears, the doubts, why they might
Yes.
be holding back, and the fear of I've got here, ending up in something that isn't a right fit for them. So just speaking to all of that. So yeah.
Yeah. I think if there's any way for you to use the information from today's Coffee and Cosmos and apply it to them in terms of, I know this feels uncomfortable because you're stepping into something that you um, don't know uh, if you can do it, right? But
Ah,
you're here for a reason,
okay.
and I am your safe guide to help you be able to do it.
I didn't make that connection, of course. So this is everything that you've just shared. It's like where they are currently at is that fear of it's what would you
It's a
say?
leap.
It feels like a leap for them.
Hmm.
Yeah. And they're afraid that they won't be able to do it, or got it. Oh, that's
And
incredible. Yeah, because that's
yeah,
exactly what it was telling me in the dream. It was like, don't give up on them, because this is, they're holding back, there's doubt, there's fear, they're not sure. That wasn't what the dream was very much me having the fear, you know what I mean, in the dream, but I know that it was related to the clients. It's so interesting how it came through, though.
Yeah. And
Thank
you
you.
can even ask them, think back to a year ago. There's, and you can use some of that, the same things we've talked about of how much you've changed since a year ago. Do you think that will stop?
Yeah.
Don't you think you're meant for more? Isn't there some voice in you that says, I know I can do this? Some voice calling you to say, show what you can do. And of course, you offer a guarantee. And if it's not a fit, then
Yeah.
they've taken a step that helps them get to the place that will be the fit.
That's so helpful. Thank you so much, Panda. That's amazing.
I'm glad that's helpful. Anyone else? Any other questions? I hope you can see this unfolding for yourselves about how far you've come since last last year and um, what's possible.
Panda, what was the 1996 reference?
Uh,
Ah,
the
the
thing
thing
that's
that's
coming to
coming
your
to your
attention.
attention.
There's a little
There's a
bit of
little bit
a
of a
uh, that is the Saturn moving into Aries to get you to pay attention to something. And it's like a 3-year thing, but you're setting the path now of the direction that you're going to head into in terms of what is taking your attention and what it is, um, what's really important to you. And so the important thing is you don't have to have it figured out, but you do have to be honest with yourself and with the right people, the people who want the best for you, and where you hopefully have your tribe, because that was all the work that we did that over the spring was helping find the right people around us for this new paradigm, and they will be the ones helping you to find the thing to pay attention to. But that's referring back to 1996 and the beginning of that journey until early 1999, saying this is what you need to pay attention to. I hope that helps, Min. Sorry I had to mute you because it was when I was talking, it was giving some feedback. I can unmute you, or you can unmute yourself if you have any more.
Okay. Yeah, an interesting time period to be thrown back to. I'll have to think about that one. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Mitch, Fernando, anyone? Okay. Well, some exciting times coming up over the next 2 weeks. We really are in this, I think, awesome transition period of like we're getting to work on ourselves. And now that the pressure is releasing a little bit on the external stuff, and it's our time to be doing what we need to do. And I don't know, I'm excited for it. So if you guys have questions, don't hesitate to reach out. You guys all know how to find me. Thank you, and I'll see you hopefully in 2 weeks. Have a great day, you guys. I hope you feel prepared to move easily through these next 2 weeks. You bring a lot to the table and you know it. So even if it feels uncomfortable, let those ideas flow. You're setting yourself up for a great summer. And if you'd like to join us on our next Coffee and Cosmos live, just DM me, coffee, on Instagram at It's Panda Hershey, and I'll send you the link. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.